10 reasons I could never stay. 1. You weren't ready to dance when I was. You let my hand go in the essence of a mosh pit, and I've been lost since. 2. The night you left, I fell asleep on the floor of my shower. I was so broken, I fell to my knees and asked God if he could take me. 3. You would have let him take me. 4. I was willing to give up a part of me for you. I was willing to compromise my dreams for you. I was ready to be the person you needed. You never really needed me the way I needed you to. 5. I talked to my grandmother this morning, and she asked me where the princess she remembered raising went. She asked me how I could be good for anyone if I wasn't good for me. She asked me if I were looking for kings who were looking for queens, and how somewhere along the way I lost myself, so they all miss me. 6. You loved me the way my father always loved my mother, and I no longer accept men with conditional traits. 7. As a woman, I am obligated to continue loving. As a man, you are eager to continue lusting. I was made gracefully with spiritual glitter and faithful glue. I was given wings that you tried to cut through. I was born with a voice that you tried to silence, and a body that you tried to shame me of. Whenever spilling our love into someone else's, it took me a while to see that someone like you doesn't deserve a heart that only someone like myself was willing to offer. 8. I'm starting to find myself. And while picking up the pieces to my unfinished puzzle, I'm realizing that you were never meant to fit the picture. 9. You left scars on my skin that will never let me forget what love isn't. 10. You were wrong about me. You said I could never live without you. You thought I'd stick around for you to figure out how beautiful we could be, but I planted scriptures in your palms that no one else will ever understand, but all will see, and then they'll wonder what happened. Then they'll ask about me. Tell them how I used to hold on because I loved you enough to never let you forget me. Then let them know that I've become forgiving and you've grown to resent me. I've grown from every verse I wrote and every word you spoke, and you've learned my love made itself permanent on its own. You never were into practicing what you preach, but I've decided it's okay that you let me go too. I've already set you free.
Good evening, You Nation Radio family. It's your girl, Akila Trinae, and you are tuned into Love Sessions. Yes, tonight is an awesome show that we have planned and set up for you. I'm so eager to get into it, but because we're on a limited amount of time, I want to make sure that we introduce our host for tonight. We're going to get to Miss Reyna Biddy because I know that's what you guys are all waiting for, but without any further ado, I'm going to kick it to my left to Charles Handy.
Yo. Mike T. What up? Hey, shout out to my 2 W's in my fantasy leagues. Anywho, we're gonna set it off and shout out. I want everybody to tune in to our social media. So if you're on Facebook, check out U Nation Radio. If you're on Twitter, it's U Nation _radio. And if you're on IG, just go to straight up U Nation Radio and follow the movement.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna kick it to my left, and we're gonna go with Detroit in the house. What's good?
Yo, what's good? I am the Dontrell Detroit. Glad to be back in the building. There's nothing like being in here talking about love and things that we're about to do. So it's on tonight. We are talking about relationship realities, and I would love to hear what you have to say and the questions that you have, because we are the love experts. No, I'm just playing. But this is Love Sessions, and we will have a session. So if you do want to call in, that number is 323-965-1600. Again, 323-965-1600. Get involved. I'm Dontrell. You can get me at Dontrell Detroit on Instagram. I'm going to kick it back to my beautiful co-host, Akila Trine.
Shout out to all the writers. And with that said, I want to remind everybody that you can go to Amazon.com and pick up my book, Beyond the Hurt.
Shout out.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Beyond the Hurt.
It's a good book, too.
It's a fictional novel, you know.
I'm waiting for the sequel.
I'm waiting for the remix.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the sequel.
When the remix coming out?
It's coming. It's coming. So, because I am in good company with writers and a writer and a spoken word artist, Miss Reyna Biddy sheds light on why it is always important to never lose a sense of self in part 4 of her exclusive behind-the-scenes InstaVid series about her new album, I Love My Love. For anyone who is going through anything at all, I encourage you to always write to yourself so you can take your own advice, whether it's right now or later on in life. The Los Angeles native explains. Tune in to Reyna Biddy's new video series on Instagram at Reyna Biddy. Listen to Reyna Biddy's work on SoundCloud and cop her new album and book, I Love My Love, on iTunes, Amazon, and available streaming everywhere. Miss Reyna Biddy is in the building tonight, and I know that's why all of you have tuned in. So we're just going to get straight to it. Miss Reyna Biddy, how are you this evening, today?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing really, really well. Kind of cold, but I'm okay.
As the show goes on, you'll probably warm up.
Yeah,
especially when these questions
I can feel myself warming
coming.
up. Yeah, I can feel myself. So I'm like, okay, I'm good now.
Maybe take a shot of Henny or something.
I don't drink at all.
No, okay.
Good.
That's all right.
You and me and my water.
We on the water vibes.
We on the
Yeah.
water vibes here.
That's
Always.
all good.
But yes, so we know that on Twitter, you have Dear You from We.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we have some callers on the line. Like I said, if you're listening, just keep holding. We haven't forgot about you. Just stay there. But I want to know, just right before we get into it, kind of what, prompted you to begin this journey.
Well, so it's kind of weird because I feel like I definitely speak my entire life into existence subconsciously more than anything. Mm-hmm. So even as far as the words Dear You from We, it was never Dear You from me when it could have easily been, but I've always been down this spiritual guide where I felt like I was always walking with God and he was just guiding my steps. So wow. Dear You from We is basically a short sentence of saying everything that comes through me comes through God, and I really I feel like he uses me, and more than anything, everything that I say to people when they ask me for advice, or if I'm writing a book, or if I'm doing something like this, I always just say God, just use me. And that's why I always say that it's way bigger than just me,
right?
Which is why it's we. And then it gets bigger when I'm talking about the word we, because it also pertains to the people that I'm talking to as well, the people
Absolutely.
that I'm growing with, the people that are on the journey with me, et cetera, et cetera. But
and shout out to everybody that speaks French. We.
Them too. But as far as this journey, I think that it all kind of started with my parents' relationship, which is why I made it an importance to talk about their relationship in my first book. They had a very toxic relationship, even though they loved each other so much. Mm-hmm. And I feel like someone growing up and being raised by these people, I could have easily followed down their footsteps or down their path. And I think that I started to, and then I caught myself because I was like, this isn't right. And I'm noticing that this isn't right because I see my mom in pain, and I see my dad not knowing what to do, conflicted between two families, two relationships, and I always told myself that I wanted to be better, and they always told me to be better than them. So I think that more than anything, that's what started this all. It was like I wanted to like be strong for my mom. I wanted to like break that cycle of like women who are hurt in my family, because every single person in my family is hurt for some reason.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, not to say that I've never been hurt or that I don't go through hurt still, but I think that I'm trying to change. Like, I'm trying to break that cycle and trying to like find myself and trying to tolerate less than what everyone else around me is.
I definitely had a question about that, because listening to your album, I Love My Love, which I think is like really, really cool, and just a real cool title, even just to make a great statement. But I was just like, how many relationships have you had, or how could you have? It seems like you have just so much in-depth like knowledge of like the particulars of different scenarios or relationships. Where does that all come from? That comes from, well, you mentioned that it comes from your mom, right? So that their relationship, but what other experiences have you had?
Honestly, I've only ever, besides the relationship that I'm in now, I've only ever been in 2 relationships, and I wouldn't necessarily consider either one of those love relationships, but I will say that every relationship that I've been through, whether it's my family or whether it's my friends or whether it's my parents even, or my little siblings even, like I'm watching my sister grow up and I'm sometimes seeing like that she's creating habits that a lot of young women do, and I feel like I take from their situations and I say, they're a part of the people that I love, they're a part of my love, so I've created something through them as well. Like I see, for example, like my little sister, I see her like basically getting relationships that are toxic for her that she shouldn't be in, or I see how my mother was treated by my father, or I see like best friends continuously staying in relationships that they know are draining them, or that they know are bad for them. Or even in my defense, it was like I was a little different because I was always very much like my dad. I was always very eager and ready to leave. So whenever someone would do something bad, or whenever someone would, I don't know, it could be the smallest thing. It didn't even have to be like something malicious towards me. It didn't even have to be cheating. It could be something as simple as one small argument. I was instantly ready to leave because I felt like I was hurting myself if I stayed. And I was never willing to put myself in a situation where I was hurting myself. Okay. But later on, I realized by me leaving so often and so frequently, that was hurting myself. Because I never learned how to really be in a relationship.
Well, I'm sure people have questions for you because the board is lighting up.
It's lighting up. We got to get to it.
So we're going to take our first caller for Reyna in just a second.
Uno momento, Prevor on the call situation, but caller.
Hello.
Give us your name and tell us where you're calling from.
Jocelyn from Jersey.
Jocelyn from Jersey.
Hello, Jocelyn from Jersey.
I can't believe I was the first caller. Oh my gosh! Like my heart is like doing backflips.
Well, that's good. Well, let's calm you down for a second.
Shout out Jersey.
Shout out Jersey, and just let us know what's on your mind. What's your question?
Well, first and foremost, hello, Reyna. Oh my gosh! Like
hi.
For so long. Always in her DMs. I'm pretty sure she knows who this person is.
Yes, definitely.
This is crazy. But I have a question for the poem Easy Come, Easy Go.
Okay.
And it's like the second to last line. It says, someone told me shit will leave me the same way it receives me.
Right.
So what did you mean by that? Like, what are you implying, basically?
Pretty much what I mean is I really truly believe in the idea that you are what you attract, and if the way that you perceive yourself is weak, or if the way that you perceive yourself is not good enough or not worth it, you're going to always enter relationships that are weak or that are not worth it or that are not worth the fight, or you're going to end up attracting someone who feels that same exact way about you because they perceive you in that same exact way. You don't realize the way that you're putting yourself out there until someone kind of mirrors you and shows you who you are. And when I said that, like shit will come to you the same way that it'll leave you, or it'll leave you the same way that it'll come to you, that's pretty much what I meant. Like, you kind of have to be in a healthier state of mind in order to attract relationships that are going to be healthy and that are going to end healthy. I mean, endings don't always have to be toxic, and I think that that's one thing that we all don't experience, because we all kind of enter things either already diminished and we already think like, okay, this has an ending point, or we're so into this person or this relationship that we lose ourselves and we forget everything that we stand for. So once we do lose this person, once it does end, we're completely damaged because we don't even remember who we were before this relationship. All we remember is what we want from this person and how this person made us feel, basically.
Thank you so much for calling. We do have to get to the next caller. I hope she was able to answer your question for you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, thank you.
Stay in them DMs.
Caller, give us your name and tell us where you're calling from.
Hi, I'm Bria from the Bay.
Hey,
Hi.
area.
From the Bay? You said Bria?
What part of the Bay you
Bria.
from?
What part of the Bay you from?
It's close to Oakland, Berkeley, right in the middle.
Okay,
That's a good place to be.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I know,
Everybody
there's
here is
always
from
something to
Oakland.
do.
So
Shout out
except
to
for me.
everybody
Except me.
in Piedmont.
But I do love San Francisco. I'm obsessed with it.
So give us your question and let Reyna know what's on your mind.
I wanted to first send some love and warmth towards Reyna because she always makes me smile. I love reading her poems, and they just warm my heart so much. So I wanted to say thank you for that and
Thank
sharing
you.
everything.
Thank you so much for supporting me and for being on this journey with me.
Of course, you inspire me so much. And I wanted to ask you for a little bit of advice because I feel like I'm a very giving person and I always love to support the people around me. And I wanted to know, how would you help somebody who is still learning to love themselves?
You have to, I mean, for me, I've always given the people closest to me very tough love. Like, I'm very straightforward and I let people know I can't help you if you're not willing to help yourself. And that's for anyone, whether I'm close to you or not. The truth of the matter is, if you're asking me for advice, if you feel like you needed to come to me or to come to anyone, if you feel like you have to go to a therapist, or if you feel like you have to read a book or whatever the case is, you have to always, the intention has to always be to save yourself before going to a person or to a book or to a place and looking for saving. And I think that you should definitely give that person a little bit of distance so that they have that space to find themselves. Don't push it upon them, but also let them know that you're here for them if they ever need anything from you, but that you can't be their savior because they have to be their savior.
That's very wise. It's hard being in a relationship with a person that, you know, just needs a needy person. Like, we're supposed to be two people that's coming together and just like separate entities when we're supposed to like improve each other and just enhance each other. Not like I'm just like your, I don't know. I mean, you are my rib, you know, biblically speaking. But come on, like, I can't just be your everything. I need you to have a life,
a little bit of something
bring to the table.
Well, thank you, caller, and I hope she was able to answer your question. We will go to the next caller.
Wow, it's super lit up in here.
Right? I can't even add my
caller,
commentary.
Give us your name and tell us where you calling from.
Hey,
Hi, I'm Samira. I'm calling from Connecticut.
Hey.
Oh, Connecticut.
Hey.
Yes. Hey. Let me just start off by saying that, I really, really love your speech. I really appreciate what you have to say to young women.
Thank you so much.
You just really out here just validating, making people know that you don't need to be validated by men, and I just love it.
And I'm so grateful that that you feel touched by it, that anyone feels touched by it, because that's really what my entire mission is, what my entire goal is, to let people know that at the end of the day, you are enough.
Okay. I do.
So my question is, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was totally just jumped in here. Hopscotch.
I'm so nervous.
It's like double dutch.
Double dutch, and it's your turn to go. My bad.
My question is, personally for me, just dealing with low self-esteem and just looking for guys to validate me and that I'm it when I should just already be it. Like, how did you deal with that? Like, how did you overcome that?
I took a lot of time to myself, honestly. Like, I've only ever really been in 2 relationships prior to the one that I'm in now, and in between both, I'd say I took about a year to 2 years off in between. It took a lot for me because, every day I'm still battling. I'm like, I'm not where I want to be when it comes to, like, weight goals and everything else, but I feel like for me, it's deeper because I realize that, like, this is just my bodysuit. Like, this is not really who I am. Like, who you are is your spirit. Who you are is your soul. And everything that's happening in the inside of you is really who you are. And when you start to become happier, when you start to become more self-aware, when you become more excited about who you are as a person, I think that you start to glow. You eventually begin glowing from the outside, because everything that's happening on the inside, everything that's healthy from the inside, it eventually shows from the outside. And I think the biggest thing is that you have to focus on bettering yourself every single day, and also saying to yourself, like, if someone doesn't like you for whatever you may think that your flaw is, then they aren't worth your time, because at the end of the day, we all have flaws, and also at the end of the day, there's going to be someone who appreciates your flaws more than you even appreciate them, and that's when you know that you're in a relationship that's worth your time.
Oh, thank you so much. I really love that.
That's
Thank
what's
you.
up. That's what's up. I hope she answered that. Next caller. Caller, give us your name and tell us where you're calling
You're on
from.
with Love Sessions.
Hi, I'm Eunice from Alabama.
How you doing, Eunice?
Hi, hey, Reyna. I'm so excited about talking to you.
Hi.
Made me grow as a person and a better Christian. It makes me strive to do better every day.
Right.
But my question is, when do you stop giving people your all, even though it's really hard to stop caring and it hurts you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you stop?
Well, first and foremost, you have to come to a realization that if you give all of yourself away to people, then you have nothing. Then you're left with nothing. You have nothing left of your own self for yourself. And I was actually just having a conversation the other day about this same exact situation. If you are making so much time for every single person in your life, and then at the end of the day, you feel like socially exhausted for one, but also you feel drained because you feel like you have no time for yourself, then that means that everyone else in your life is more important than your own self, because you aren't taking the time to yourself to really realize that you are what's more or most important, really. And I think with loving someone or with giving your all to someone, you have to also realize that in order to love someone the best that you can, you have to love yourself the best that you can. And I feel like everything comes and stems from loving yourself, because when you don't, everything after that is either toxic or it's insecurities or you never feel good about the situation if you never feel good about yourself. And I think that in order to truly love someone as well, you have to be selfishly selfish. And that's like my biggest thing. Like, you have to hold on to the parts of you that make you you. You can't just give them away and say, okay, here, take this all because this is what you want from me, because those are the things that you're supposed to hold on to, because those are the things that this person or these people fell in love with you for.
Dear self, compromise less. Hey, I'm quoting. I know. I'm
Definitely.
Dear you for me, but that kind of sums that up. That was definitely a dope quote.
Thank you, caller, for calling. I hope she answered your
Thank you so
question.
much. Have a good night.
You too.
So, Love Sessions. Caller, give us your name and tell us where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Bethany from Texas.
How you doing,
Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
Bethany.
So recently I just got out of a relationship, and it was pretty toxic, but I just didn't realize it at the time. And I still feel really drained to this day, and I feel kind of like I owe myself so many apologies. How do I get over all of the pain that I'm still going through? And how do I make myself... I try to tell myself, like, I study your paragraphs and everything. I study everything you ever put out. But how do I make myself just feel how I used to feel again?
Time. You have to give yourself time, because I mean, it's still very new, and you can't expect that every wound is going to be sealed as soon as the situation has ended. And I think for me, when I was in these exact situations, when I was trying to figure out who I was, and when I was trying to figure out why I wasn't good enough, or why a relationship didn't last, or when I was trying to figure out why I attracted a certain type of person, or why I gave all of myself away and it never presented itself to be a good situation at the very end of the situation, I eventually came to a point where I basically threw myself in hobbies, and I threw myself into the things that I loved, and eventually I found new things that I loved, like writing this book, for example. But I think you have to give yourself time to find who you are, and also you have to almost stop apologizing to yourself and realize that everything that happens to you happens for a reason, and everything that happens to you is meant to make you stronger. It's not to make you broken, or it's not to break you down in any sense, even though often we are weak and we feel that it was meant to break you down. But you have to realize that life is not working against you, it's working for you. And when you give it time, when you have patience, you'll realize that every single thing that you've ever been through will slowly show itself as, you'll start to think to yourself, like, okay, like, now I get it. Now I understand why I went through that situation, because had I not gone through that situation, I wouldn't be as strong as I am right now.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You know, and I absolutely agree with what you're saying, just because, sometimes we want life just to be so easy all the time. But then they always say, like, hindsight is 20/20, because, while you're going through something, you're experiencing it, and you're like, man, this is extremely painful.
Right.
How am I going to ever get over this? How am I going to get past it? And then once you do, you look back and you say, I wouldn't change that, because everything that I am now is because of the things that I learned from that experience. If you erase that experience, then you don't have those tools that you can use, in the future. So I would just even, say to the caller, like, unfortunately, it's, that pain that we have to endure, but, it will be those greater blessings that really come from it in the future, that you'll be able to say, you know what, this was the experience that I had. And then now you become the expert in that area, where you can
and then
tell
you get to help someone else.
Somebody else,
Exactly.
I got a question.
You don't get no questions yet. We get not just yet. We gonna say your question for you.
We're giving our callers time.
Hold that thought. Yeah.
Shout out to my question.
Right. Shout out. I know they're coming.
We're gonna get it in the future.
We're gonna get at her in a second. Caller. Next caller, give us your name and tell us where you calling from. Love Sessions.
Hi, my name is Tori, and I'm calling from Oakland, California.
Oakland!
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You're in good company.
Hi, Reyna.
Hi, how are you?
Louise.
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good. Okay. Well, this summer I bought your book and I read it, and it prompted a lot of growth in my life. And before reading your book, I collected a lot of journals and just wrote a lot of poems. And so pretty much this summer, I created it and I turned it into a book so far.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's just like a lot of thoughts and journal entries that I think could be beneficial to people. And also it's like me writing to myself
Right.
of where I see myself in the future. And I want to be done with the book, but I just feel so hesitant because I feel that I'm not all the way there yet.
Okay.
And like, what advice do you have on that?
If you're hesitant because you feel like you're not there yet, hold off on it because there might be more messages that need to complete it. If you're hesitant because you're afraid that it might not do well, or you're afraid that people won't perceive it well, or you're afraid that you might get judged, then that's a fear that you're going to have to let go, because in life, we're always going to get judged. And in life, you have to overcome fears. In life, in order to continue growing, we have to face our fears head on, and we have to be willing to always try and try and try and try and fail and fail and fail and fail. And the more, I mean, you're going to receive a million L's before you get that one W, but that one W is always going to be so worth it. And I feel like if you truly in your heart feel like it's not ready to be put out, then give it some time, sit on it, rest on it, reread it over and over and over, and let it grow you, because I think that that's another thing that helped me within the situation. I felt like I continuously kept reading my book, and the more I felt like I was like actually taking my own advice and reading my own book and growing from it, I started to realize, okay, someone else can too. So once you reread it and go over it and you start to feel that way, or you still start to realize like, okay, I have something special here, I think that's when you release it. But like I said, if it's all based off of fear just because you're afraid, I say just go ahead and do it, because I mean, that's how life works. Like you're never gonna get over this slump if you don't just like put it out there and pray on it and just hope for the best.
Right. Okay, I have one last question. It's about your mirrors and epiphanies poems.
Okay.
And it's very relatable for me just because you talk about like body image and all that stuff. And in high school, I was pretty thin. And then when I went to college, I gained weight. And now it's so hard for me to like love myself and like accept myself. And I just like want to know what advice you have for just loving yourself no matter where you are, you know?
I mean, for me, I genuinely believe that when you eat better, you feel better, and when you look better, you feel better. And I think that if like weight or if your image is the biggest issue, I mean, from within where you feel like you're insecure from, I feel like you should maybe just change up a little bit of things, just so that, I mean, even if it's okay, I'm not going to eat candy today, I'm going to eat some grapes, and that makes you feel slightly better because you ate a little less calories. Or instead of being online on Instagram for an hour, I'm going to go walk for 30 minutes. Those little things start to add up because you start to slowly realize what makes you feel better about yourself. And then also you have to realize that like at the end of the day, every single person is unique within one's own self. So your image is your image. God gave it to you for a reason, and he loves you that way. You don't need to change at all. And I know that it's hard, especially within the society that we live in now, the generation where everything's social media, everything's Instagram models, everything's video vixens, and this is what's praised. But honestly, we don't know what goes on behind those closed doors. We don't know how those girls feel. I mean, they're getting numerous surgeries to feel better about themselves. And I mean, if you can find a shortcut in any sense or way, even if it's just throwing on a little bit more makeup, or even if it's eating a little better, or if it's working out a little more, or eating a little less, like whatever it may be, even if it's like reading more. Like for me, I feel like when I read more, I feel better because I feel smarter about myself. Like I'm like, okay, like there's little things, or even listening to like your favorite songs, singing your heart out, watching movies that make you cry your eyes out, like
wash your car.
That's what I was just doing before I called you.
Yeah, like those things for some reason just make me feel better about myself. I don't know why. It's such a weird thing, but anything that makes you feel good, do more of, because that's what's going to. Yeah, I mean, essentially, those are the things that are going to make you feel better about yourself, and they're going to make you realize, like, okay, maybe I'm not so bad. And I think that once you reach that point, then you start to realize, like, anyone who doesn't accept you for the way that you look isn't worth having in your life.
Or you could just hang around people that are bigger than you.
That always works. But look, when you do,
Oh my goodness.
when you do get all your excerpts together and you publish them, and when you finish, call us back, and we would love to have you read them or display them ourselves, so you could help others through that vein. But thank you for calling. We're about to go to our next caller.
All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Not a problem. Love Session. Give us your name and tell us where you're calling from.
Hi, my name is Marley. I'm calling from D.C.
Hi,
Hey,
Molly.
Molly.
Hi. Hi, Reyna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I want to start off by saying I love all that you do and all of your writings. I've been following you on Twitter for so long now, so I love to just see your growth and like where you've come from and where you're at now, and you're so deserving of it, and I appreciate all of your words because they're great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So you're welcome. My question is about like in past relationships, I feel like I've looked for a lot of validation from the people that I've been with, that I've been unable to give myself, and seeking it from others, and like when I don't get it, it's like such a draining experience, and it really like leaves me kind of empty. So I wanted to know if you had any advice for not seeking validation from others and kind of like validating yourself before you look for it in someone else.
Honestly, I don't want this to come off as harsh, but if you can't validate yourself before a relationship, then you aren't ready for a relationship. And I learned that the hard way. So if I can save anyone, I will. But if you don't feel good about yourself before a relationship, you won't feel good about yourself during a relationship, because you'll constantly be looking for a reason to not feel good. You'll constantly be looking for a reason to diminish the relationship in any way or how. You'll start to look through this person's phone, or you'll start to accuse this person of doing this or looking somewhere else. And those are the things that create a huge bump in your relationship, because when you start to portray yourself as someone who the person that you're with didn't think of you as, when you start to portray yourself as someone who's insecure or someone who's weak or whatever, they start to portray you that same exact way, and then they start to treat you that same exact way. They start to, I don't know, call you names, or, those are the extreme things. Those are like verbally abusive things, but they start to appreciate you a lot less. I think that's pretty much where I'm going. Like, they start to make you feel a little less than what you already feel that you are. And for me, I feel like the biggest thing in relationships is that you're never supposed to look towards that person for validation. I think that you're always supposed to, at the end of the day, go back to yourself, and you're supposed to validate yourself. And if you can't do that and you're already in a relationship, then you need distance. And I think that you need a break from the relationship. And I'm very big on just giving myself space so that I can figure myself out and figure everything out and think to myself, okay, what is wrong with me in this moment? Why am I insecure about a situation? Or why do I not feel good about myself? Or why am I, basically lashing out and putting all of my insecurities on the person that I'm with or the people that are around me, even if it's not the person I'm with, even if it's just friendships or just being negative towards random people that come up to you or, you know, people you see at the supermarket, whatever it may be. But I think that the biggest thing is that you have to sit within yourself. You have to take time to yourself to learn yourself. And through learning yourself, that gets you to like slowly love yourself, love who you are, love what you're about, love the things that you love, your hobbies, your just everything. And then those are the things that you can lean back on when you need some sort of validation. You realize, oh, okay, like I'm a good person or whatever. Like I always lean on the fact that I'm a good person. So that's just for me. But yeah, I think that if you go into relationships looking for validation, they're just not going to work. They never will because you have to validate yourself.
Well, thank you, caller. I hope she answered your question. We've been sitting there talking.
Thank you so much.
We've been sitting there talking about feelings and how the best of feelings and how these people that give the feelings get the worst of. We're about to take a quick commercial break. This is Music Love.
Love, there's so many things I've got to tell you, but I'm afraid I don't know how. 'Cause there's a possibility that you look at me differently, love. Ever since the first moment I spoke your name, from then on I knew that by you being in my life, things were destined to change. 'Cause love, so many people use your name in vain. Love, those who have faith in you sometimes go astray. Love, through all the ups and downs, the joys and hurts. Love, for better or worse, I still will choose you first. Oh, oh, oh. Many days I've longed for you, wanting you, hoping for the chance to get to know you, longing for your kiss, for your touch, to feel your essence. Many nights I've cried from the things you do, felt like I could die from the thought of losing you. I know that you're real, with no doubts and no fears and no questions. Oh yeah, yeah. So many people, so many people. Love, no. Those who have faith in you sometimes go astray. Love,
vocals.
Man. There we go.
Is that the remix?
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, can I just?
Yeah.
Can I just jump
So
in?
we're back. It's Love Sessions. Again, I'm your girl, Keela Trinae. We're in the building with Miss Reyna Biddy, and Charles has been
eager
chomping at the bit.
Ask this question.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make sure that
Get this out there. Go
Come
ahead.
on,
Yeah,
bring
I'm
it.
gonna get one
that.
off. I actually got a two part, but I'm gonna go with.
It's cool. I got a few questions anyway.
I got a. All right. So first thing, something I did notice is a lot of women that were calling. They're young and they seem like they've been in pain, and I'm just like, we're dealing with the pain, and I see that we're addressing that part of it, but it's like, how did we get there? Like, what is the common denominator that got us to this place where they're calling in saying that they've been heartbroken?
I don't like where you're going with this one, but
It's a cycle. It's definitely a cycle. Every single person has their own story, and I feel like we don't acknowledge it that way because like we don't realize that like our best friend has a different story than us, or we don't realize that like our brother has a different story than us, and very often it comes from something deeper than just us. Like for example, from my situation, it was my parents' relationship, and for me, it was more so that my mom was constantly telling me to never be like her or to never date a certain type of guy, and my dad was the exact same way. He was like, don't date this type of guy. And then it took me until I was about 16, 17 years old to realize you're the type of guy that you don't want me to date. And I mean, the common like law or whatever you want to call it, the common idea is that like every single girl always goes after guys that are very much like their fathers. So for me, that was my cycle. I was always following or chasing someone that was just like my dad, even though he always told me to never date or look for someone who was just like him. But I didn't realize that.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Let me get this straight. But there's already an issue in this world that we don't have enough fathers in this world. Black fathers at that. Now, on top of that, the issue with women is that they actually have fathers that they aren't to date.
That was my issue. I'm not saying that that's every single person's cycle. Like it could be easily another, like someone who called, it could be easily that she sees her mom going through abusive relationships, or it could be something as simple as she got,
So the perpetuated cycle is that of our parents that is in front of us.
It's not always that though, because like we don't always know someone's story. So it could be like someone got raped by their family member at 5 years old.
I'm speaking in general, so I'm not.
Yeah, generally speaking, I think, I'm not going to say that it all relates to our parents, but I do think that it's a cycle of what we're used to or what we see for so long or what we've been through. And I think that another thing is like we also kind of like look at people like my age or younger and we think, what have you been through? But we don't know what a person has. We don't know what the person in front of us has been through because most people aren't open about what they've been through.
Because in something that when I was dating, I'm retired now, but when I was dating, something that I noticed a common thread would be is that you might meet a girl. And eventually the conversation might go to like, oh, I had this past relationship. This guy was a complete jerk, whatever, right? And then it's like, okay, it's hard to really fully get the grasp because it's all a one-sided kind of story. And what I'm just getting to is like, if you're dating a guy that you feel like is not right for you, and are women just running through red lights, should I say? Are they going through these red flags, and then are they like, hey, this guy ended up being a bit complete jerk, and it's like, hey, did you even take a second to analyze the situation and see if you was putting yourself in a winning scenario in this relationship, or what,
I think very often from what I've just from my experience with the women that I've talked to or the young girls that I've talked to, a lot of us feel abandoned, whether it's by a family member, whether it's by a best friend, whether it's by a past relationship. We feel very abandoned for whatever the reason may be, and we're always looking for a home. So I feel like if a girl feels extremely abandoned, she feels extremely vulnerable, she feels very down about herself, she's very insecure, she's going to find a home in anyone allowing her to step in and walk in and live there.
He might have a girlfriend, right?
He might have a girlfriend. He might be a cheater and she already knows that. He might not even be looking for a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many reasons why, but that doesn't stop her from convincing her heart that this is the person for me.
Yeah.
And then after she convinces her heart that this is the person for me, she gets a reality check when he shows her logically, I'm not the person for you.
Yeah.
And then again, she feels abandoned.
And I think another,
red light.
I guess, angle on that is, especially for young women, because I work with high school students, but women generally, start the search for that, love relationship early. So while women are kind of feeling their way through the love thing, more often than not, guys are not necessarily in search of that same thing. So while they're feeling their way through that, I'm just trying to get to know women thing, women are more so trying to look for that kind of attachment of if they are feeling abandoned or if they have had, abusive relationship examples in their life, then they're trying to find something to cling on to that's solid.
Right.
And unfortunately, through that process, again, like what we were talking about with the caller before, is you kind of learn what you want and don't want and need and don't need in the relationship that you'll have later on. And it's better, I think, to experience some of those heartbreaks younger, than it is older, because you're just like,
easier to
a lot
recover.
of like old school parents, they say, like, if you have to bend the tree early. So if you have those experiences as a younger person, then it allows you the opportunity to grow up. And when you do encounter any heartbreaks or hardships, you don't break all the way down. Whereas if you don't have any of those experiences and then it hits you when you get older, then now you're broken and everything. And that's how I feel like how men experience relationships.
Right.
Like, they're kind of, look, I'm not taking anything seriously.
Right.
And then when they do finally take it seriously and then they have that heartbreak, they're all broken down. Whereas the
Right.
woman is like, oh no, I've been through this 10 times. What are you doing?
Definitely.
We're going to work this out,
Definitely.
Likely. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions, yes or no. All right.
You said yes or no?
Yes
They're yes or no questions?
Yes or
Okay.
no questions.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna ask you a question to elaborate on. All right.
Okay.
Love is a commitment, not a feeling.
Levels of commitment out of feeling?
Love is a commitment, not a feeling.
No.
There's nothing easy about love.
Yes.
The residuals of hurt are dividends toward love.
Sometimes. Yes, no.
Maybe so.
So all these things are based on what happened, transpired through the questions of what you responded. So my next question, based off of what somebody asked you, is how do you love and give appropriately, and how do you moderate what's too much and too little to give?
I live a very intuitive life. So I feel like I think that's one thing that a lot of generally people lack, is that knowing of what feels right and what feels wrong and when to stop and when to go. I think that when you're in a relationship, or even before you're in a relationship, when you're talking to someone or when you're dating someone and you're eager for a relationship, let's just say, you kind of silence the logic and you kind of just step forward with your emotions, especially women, for example, because women are very emotional creatures and men are more so logical. So I think that when you're taking that leap of faith with just like your emotions, I think that you silence everything that could be logical for the situation, and you just decide in that moment, I'm going to give all myself away.
Thank you. So if we take this leap of faith, right, let's just say we're jumping across the Grand Canyon, and we say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this leap of faith, and I'm going to jump across the Grand Canyon to get to love. Mm-hmm. Based on what you just said, isn't this a decision, a commitment? Because there's a lot of euphoric things that happen to us in life with love,
right?
Between sex, between innate chemistry, between good conversation and everything. There's a lot of people that we could run in contact with that could give us almost the same feeling, if not the same feelings that makes it synonymous with love. So the only difference for us, for somebody that we feel deserves us, is our decision to say, you deserve me and I'm going to go forward. Because so many things happen to tear us down in love that we left somebody else for.
Right.
You talk to me like this, I'm not going to deal with this. Like, you did this to me, I'm not going to. You cheated on me, but for the person that you love,
right,
I love you, so I'm not going to leave you.
Right.
I'm going to marry you for thicker or thin. So no matter what, I'm going to make this decision to move forward and not do anything else with you. So that's why I ask, is love more so a commitment, not a feeling? Because we feel a lot of the same things,
right,
in lustful situations and long. Because I believe in love at first sight,
right,
and that's the same. That same feeling that we had when I first met you can be the same feeling that I finally got 3 years later when I met you the first time.
Right.
So when I really decide to say I love you, I'm deciding to say and committing to you to say I love you. When I paint this picture of my feelings and what's going to happen in our head, I'm deciding to act on these feelings.
Right.
I'm deciding not to leave you.
Right.
So is it more so a decision? Because there's so many people that decide to stay and don't leave. There's so many people that get beat by one and leave, and then hit by another and stay.
But what about the person who's on the end that doesn't get to decide?
Speaking of,
like, what if you're in a relationship and you decide this isn't right for you, and the person on the other end feels like this is the one, you are the one, and then they're in love with you and they feel so strongly about you and for you, and then you go through your life, let's just say 3 years later, you're in a relationship, you're married, you have a family at this point, and that person still feels that exact same way for you, but she can't or he can't decide to be with you because you've already made your decision, but they didn't decide.
But that's my point. You decided to go elsewhere with your love. Now, whether the decision is mutual or not is a whole separate conversation.
Right.
Because I could say, you know what, I love you, Biddy, and you're like, you know what, Detroit, I feel you, but I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm going elsewhere. Now, whether you decide to love me is different. Whether you feel what I feel may be a completely separate story, but the decision to love, because there's so many married couples out here that are in distress, that want to leave, that are circumstantial or in what we call situationships, but we've decided to be here.
Right.
You know, I put my foot in the ground, now I'm going to live with the decision, because a lot of us don't want to be wrong about who we love.
Right.
That's hard.
But what about your end of the love? Like, if I was to decide, you know, I'm cool, like, I'm working on me, or I actually found someone better. What about your side of the love? Did you decide? Is that a decision for you to not be with me, even though you would decide on love if you could? If I was to love you mutually in return, we would be together. But because I took it upon myself to say, I feel like this isn't right for me, me just being an intuitive person and saying, I feel like me and you aren't meant for each other, but you being an emotional person and feeling like, no, but I feel like we are. But I get the upper hand because I'm like, well, you can't tie me to you. You can't make me stay. So I'm going to go. I'm going to decide to leave. Whereas you don't really get that decision because I already made up my mind.
Right. I didn't say the feelings were mutual. They are.
Right.
They are.
We know you can go all day, Detroit.
Yeah,
we got one last.
That's what she said.
Caller.
Great debate.
Caller, give us your name and tell us where you are calling from. Love Sessions.
Caller. Yeah.
Hello. Caller. 5, 4, 3.
Are you
cut
there?
it. You need to cut
Okay.
it. So, but anyway, so I do understand that. But if the decision, that's what I'm saying, everything is based around a decision.
Right.
It's not to
He won't let it go.
it's not to say that there aren't feelings involved. I just think that it's more so of a decision. Now, because we decide to do a lot of things, we feel a lot of things. There's probably more than one person that you actually love. You could be with somebody and an old soul that you used to chill with that, for whatever circumstantial reason took y'all apart. You see them again and those things come fluttering back. Now, you don't act on them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of men that you see that you think in your head, boy, but you don't act on them. Mm-hmm. But when you decide, that feeling that you get that propels you, not to say that love is omitted from feelings.
Right.
I'm saying love is more so a commitment than it is a feeling.
I think a relationship is a commitment.
I think that's
But you're committed. But through love, through a relationship, you're committed through love.
No.
Not always.
Yeah.
No, but no. But what you think may be true love and what actually is, again, are different because love is abstract. So we can't definitively say this is what it is. But
Someone can.
But what I'm saying, everybody's different. We already been through here. Okay, so
because I was just gonna say, I see what you're saying, but to me, you're saying love, and I love love's love. Shout out to love. But the thing is that if you're in a relationship with a person, or that's a whole different thing than being committed to another person as a life.
Well, even with the relationship, let's take marriage. You decided
to be with that
to be married.
Or, you chose.
You committed.
Right. When you break down the word decide, it's kind of decide. So I don't like to decide. I like to choose and choose powerfully. Well, because if you decide,
if you chose,
like you only are you're in a situation where you got to kill one side, die the other side, and then you choose. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a couple gems. You know what I'm saying? That was a couple gems.
I feel you. Well,
shout out
pertaining to that.
Shout out to the gems.
Pertaining to that, you chose to say I do. You chose to live for death. You chose to be in a relationship. You choose to live through thick and thin. At any given time that you say, you know what, I'm out. For those that divorced, they chose to leave. Now that feeling that they still have may still be considered love, but it's now perceived as not love because that person left and they divorced. Mm-hmm. So although love is a part of what goes on, the actual thing of love, I believe, is more so a commitment. I see love, I feel love, and I want to choose love, this type of love. Because there's some people that don't give me what you give me and how you give it to me.
Right.
It's unauthentic. So I'm going to choose you. I choose you. And then we hope that you choose me. But I do have another question I want to get from you because there's a lot.
Here we go.
I hear the callers, right? And there's a lot of things that you said. And so my question is, how do we live? How do we deal with the cliche and actually progress forward and get right? So how do we deal with, because there's so many, the women I heard were dealing with heartbreaks. And so how do we get around or rid of the cliches and actually move forward and make progress?
So heartbreak being the cliche?
No. Heartbreak being the actual situation that people are going through.
What's the cliche that we want to get past, though?
I mean, there were tons of them. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't hear any specifics. A lot of people did have heartbreak.
Okay, so you break it. You know what? You have to deal with yourself before you live it. It's fact.
Yeah. Okay. That was definitely
it's fact. A lot of the thing. It's not to say I believe in cliches because they're true.
Okay.
But how do we get around them, so to speak? Because a lot of us hear them. So you could tell me, you know what, you got to live. I got Detroit. You got to live for yourself.
Right.
One thing. But how do we put forth that? How do we know that beforehand? Like, how do we get around that? Because a lot of times that's medicine that we don't receive because everybody says it.
I feel like that's a decision. like if we're being very specific, that is definitely, I feel like that's definitely a choice that you have to make, because it's like, for me, like I said, like I was never necessarily taught to love myself, but through seeing other people's relationships, I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be there. I don't ever want to put myself in that situation. I don't ever want to be hurt the way that person is hurt. I don't ever want to be stuck in something the way that person is stuck, because whether a baby came from it or whatever the case may be, I think that it was my decision to say I need better for myself. It wasn't necessarily... For me, I don't feel like they're necessary. I mean, yes, I guess they are cliches, but I never looked at them that way because I felt like those were things that I had to do in order to better my own life. Like focus on myself, or like learn myself, love myself, etc., etc., etc. All the cliches. I feel like I decided every single one of them because my mom never sat me down and was like, Reyna, your life is going downhill right now. You're always crying over something. Like, you're depressed over something. Like, you need to do this or that. Like, I feel like I sat by myself and was just like, yo, life sucks right now for me, and I need to figure out what the toxic issues in my life are and what I keep attracting. What about me keeps attracting these type of people or these type of places or these types of things? And I don't know. I feel like you have to want, like I said, you have to want better for yourself in order to attract better for yourself.
And it didn't seem like a cliche because so many of the women that did call in, and shout out to all of y'all, it just seemed like they were hearing it for the first time or something. Like they really needed to hear, hey, love yourself. And it's just, I mean, it's just like people that when you want to lose weight and it says, oh, eat better and go to the gym. I mean, everybody knows it. It's not like some kind of big secret, but at the same time, like having a young woman, you know, like yourself, just coming in and just basically putting it all on the table and being vulnerable, I think that they're relating to that. Because to be honest with you, like so many people called in and just was really just vulnerable about their situation. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Vulnerable. But vulnerable. Yeah, all right. Anywho, but yeah, that was real dope, and I think that's really empowering. I didn't get to this question, and we gotta wrap it up. But you did mention a part about you encourage women to touch themselves in one of your things, and I just like, hey, shout out to everybody. I don't know exactly what that specifically meant, if it was literal or figurative, but
literal or figurative?
Yeah.
Definitely figurative.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. So figurative. So, but the thing is, I was. I'm super abstract, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of was like, all right, but that's also something. I'm
going to tell you where I'm going to take that one.
That's what I'm saying. It could be something you might want to encourage women too, because I think that learning yourself in that way could also help.
It definitely can.
It does.
When I wrote it, it was definitely figurative because if you read my writing, almost everything is.
Okay.
But if we want to get into like the literal aspect of it, I definitely think that that's definitely something that you should do for your health.
Oh,
like
wow.
Women should always keep up with themselves.
Give us what's the benefits of the health benefits?
I mean, as far as health goes, it's like you always have to make sure that everything is going correct down there. And I don't really want to go too far deep on that. I definitely think that every woman should like have their own gynecologist. They should be getting like constant checkups, things like that. But when you do those things, you can do research on it. It'll tell you that that's a normal thing and that you should be always trying to like keep up with your vaginal health, per se.
Shout out to vaginal health. All right, so we're going to wrap it up and I'm going to pass off to my left.
Well, in a situation where we have said today that love is a choice, understand, people, that today, and no matter what you do in relationships, you decide to get in, that is your voice. And I know we've talked about today love being tons of cliches, but it is a choice and things that we have to act on based on what we say. And so from love sessions, where we like to keep them guessing, it's been C Slim, my boy Charles Handy, Akila Trinae. I'm Doncho Detroit from the pretty lady Reyna Biddy. Reyna Biddy, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You were trying to rap. It's a little sorry.
Any last words?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who reached out and who called, and I want to say thank you to you guys for having me. And
shout out to Echo.
Shout out to Echo, who's amazing, and her entire team.
Yeah, Moses in the building.
And I just want to encourage everybody to really practice and sit on the idea of loving themselves and whatever it means to love themselves. And I think that that's the foundation of literally a happy life.
So, yeah.
Oh, in your book. Yeah.
And my book is called I Love My Love. For anyone who doesn't know, I have an audiobook on iTunes right now. You can stream it almost anywhere. And my book, again, is about my journey and the loves that I've encountered, that I've seen, that I've gone through within my entire life.
Okay. And if we haven't got to you guys, I appreciate y'all. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And if we haven't got to you, this is a very special guest, and we're going to bring her back because she got so many gems on love. I know we didn't get to every single call. We didn't get to every single tweet. But don't worry. You know, we're gonna make sure the keys of success and love will be on this station. So we're going to bring her back, y'all. Don't worry.
Well, again, from Akilah Trinae, Charles Handy, I'm Doncho Detroit, C Slim, Miss Biddy, enjoyed you. We about to get up out of here. We got to build relations from the ground up. C Slim, take us out. Yeah.
65 years in one little house, more than a memory, more than saying I do. Kiss you good nights and I love yous. Me and you, baby, we'll walk in the footsteps, build our own family. One day at a time, 10 little toes, a painted pink room, our beautiful baby love.